cards. Remember the fool, by the way, is one. Oh,
Gotcha.
caught me!
Hello,
Yay!
hello, hello, Intuition of the Soul and YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching. We appreciate it. We have the wonderful Claire Lilly with us, and she's going to talk about some amazing things with tarot that she does and that she offers. So, welcome, Claire Lilly.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
Very,
inviting me.
very excited. We love to do these programs because it's just to give people, and when we ask people to come, just talk about who they are, their spiritual journey, how they got where they got, because there's so many of us who are exploring, and it's kind of really nice to know that everybody has these journeys. And Amy and I have yet to have one of these that we haven't walked away with some like amazing little nugget that was like, oh, and we still talk about them. Like we'll list people off and we'll talk about them. So I'm sure that's going to happen. Folks,
Absolutely
we're going to
learn something from every person we have on, and that's it, the teacher and lifelong learner in me, that just sparks me right up.
Yeah.
To know that I can learn from everybody that comes on something, little golden nugget.
Yeah, and it's and if you're watching this on replay, please make sure you comment that you watch this on replay. We have a lot of people that watch on replay, and we never quite know how many. There's a number up there, but that has nothing to do with reality. Sometimes, we'll find out that there's and it seems to jump all over. We've noticed that all these lives that we have done. So welcome for those folks that are out there. Please say hello and let us know who is watching with us. We will have the last 10 minutes if you have any questions. Claire offers some really amazing things that she does. And if you look on the bottom, she has a special for July on her deck, which I was kind of holding up when we came. Aunt Lily's tarot. It's a year anniversary that she has it and had it put together. It's a lovely box. They are absolutely, I got to show some of them, absolutely stunning
and
cards.
so make sure you check out, as Kitty's getting them out, that she has a coupon code that you can use for a discount there. So
I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. Look at that. And so here we go. I pulled out for this reading the Three of Swords. So how about that? So I'll be putting her right under the bus in a moment, and after she talks about herself and saying, "So what do you see in the Three of Swords?" So there's no escaping reading cards here. So
we love
hi Felicia, hi Sean. We got some people jumping on. I'm watching both on Facebook.
Canada.
Yeah,
Nathan, who's with her,
and I'm watching also on Facebook. So if you don't show up on our stream, I'm able to see it there. Hi, Joanne, another tarot card inventor. And so Joanne's always interested, and Joanne's going to love the journal ideas. Joanne and I are pretty good friends, so she's going to absolutely love this. So why don't you tell us about it, how you got, some of your background. Amy, anything you want to add before we start?
Nope, I just like to listen to Claire.
Okay. We love the accent, let's face it. Yeah, so all right.
That didn't take too long to come out, did it? That one.
No.
Well, I pulled a card myself actually for today, and that was the Page of Cups, which I thought was a great card for this little hour we have together, I guess. So yeah, I'm Claire Lilly. I'm from England, and I moved to America back in 2012, so just been here 10 years. My background professionally was IT security, completely different from the life in this spiritual realm. But I've always had this spiritual knowledge around me. I've had all sorts of things happen. From my great aunt came through psychically. She came under my nose in a math lesson at school, which was interesting.
Oh, we love these stories. Share. Yeah, we do.
Oh, yes. That was very strange. It was like, Aunt Lily, what are you doing? Which is hence the Lily name.
Yeah.
So Aunt Lily, yep, she came under my nose, and it was like, you gonna help me with this one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you get the right answer?
No.
I know. Okay.
A couple of times. She died when I was 6, so it was definitely her, but it was her smell. And that was the first encounter I suppose I remember. My mum, was always into astrology, loved astrology. So I was very lucky to be brought up around astrology. I love numerology. I love numbers. And then I had my first tarot reading when I was 17. And all I can remember, I mean, she was amazing. This woman was crazy amazing. But the cards were so big because I'd never experienced any. I was shuffling, I dropped them all over the floor. And I thought, oh no, I've just summoned all the demons, this is really bad. So, but that was my introduction to tarot, but that was back in the 80s. Yeah, late 80s. So it wasn't really around, and we didn't have the internet like we do now. So it was one of those things I really was interested in, but couldn't really find more about it, particularly, of course, life then takes over, started work. But I've always had cards around me. I've had angel cards, oracle cards, the astrology, numbers, always been in my life. And I'm one of these people who everybody comes to. I'm sure everybody watching this, you're the one they sit next to you on the bus, they talk to you in the supermarket, and they download absolutely everything to you, and you don't even know them.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's most of it.
I guess that was saying yes, all you three. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I actually had to warn my husband when we started dating. People come and talk to me, honey.
Yeah.
And he'll go, what? And we went somewhere and it happened. He goes, oh, I guess you're right. Yep, they just come and talk.
Yeah.
No reason, no rhyme, no reason, no nothing. It just happens everywhere I go.
Yeah. My husband and my daughter, they just leave me. They're just like, oh, jeez, not again.
She's off.
Yeah.
Like, how do these people find you? I'm like, oh, I don't know.
I usually get asked, so who are they then? I don't know.
I don't know.
But the name of their kids, where they live, their mortgage payment. I mean, it's like,
and the running joke with my friends, obviously before 9/11, was we'd go through the airport and I'd have 12 flowers and 9 Bibles and all these pamphlets, and they'd have nothing in their hands. They'd look at me like they'd walk over to, and I'm thank you. Yeah.
It's just weird. So I mean, I'm not the only one. Obviously, now I found my tribe of people who I really knew were out there, but we're all the same. So when we say weird things to others, we go, no, that's not weird. That's not weird. Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to do that. But as I've always been into spiritual realm. But when I left England after my corporate life, I'm in sort of like part 2 of my life, really. I was lucky enough to not have to work, but I want to work. And one thing I wanted to do is continue my helping others. It's just inbred. It's just me. But I wanted to do it in a way where it was energetically linked. I want to help others. I want to serve others. I love animals. But I've been very lucky to be able to take time out and actually study. So the one thing I really wanted to study was tarot. And I did a couple of courses. So I'm accredited with Biddy Tarot, which I'm sure you all have heard of, Biddy Tarot in Australia. And I'm also under...
No, actually, I'm going to tell you, okay. I've heard, but it'd be great for our assume we know nothing, because a lot of us don't. So,
okay.
Because tarot is something I have come to. Interestingly enough, I've had a tarot deck for 43 years, but I didn't realize I have the Mother Peace tarot deck, but I didn't realize it was bigger than my little round deck until recently. So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, Biddy Tarot, she's Australian. She's very well known, especially in Australia. She's a businesswoman, and she's created the Biddy Tarot program and a certification. So you can go through courses and become one of her sort of approved readers, if you like. And I did that course. She's very good. She's very business strategic as well, which is nice. So it's like, how do you set up a business if you're not business minded? So she has all these courses. Very interesting lady. Nice lady as well to watch. Quite easygoing and understandable. You can understand where she's coming from. She's very much based on the Rider-Waite deck. Mm-hmm. So and that's fine. The tarot's a lot older than that, which I can get to in a minute.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it? But so she's great, and that was the first person I actually learned from a business perspective. I'm very much a business person. So I wanted to have an accreditation. And about 2 years ago now, people in the UK may have heard of this guy, a guy called Richard Knight, who's a UK psychic and medium and tarot reader, also offered a masterclass. I'm actually one of his students. And I'm a certified reader for Richard Knight.
Okay, see,
amazing reader.
I'm writing these things down because
I can write
people
them
will come back to ask us. So,
Okay. So we've got Biddy Tarot and we've got Richard Knight.
and spell Biddy.
Biddy.
Okay, that's what I thought you were saying. All right.
Her name's Bridget, but that was her nickname, Biddy.
Okay.
And then Richard Knight, as in the Knight of Cups.
Okay.
Pentacles.
KNIGHT.
He is indeed. Yeah. So he's a very well-known psychic medium. He's been on TV, and I remember him a little bit from when I was over in the UK, but he's made his career out of reading tarot and he's a psychic as well. Amazing guy. So I've learned from these people, but as you learn the tarot, as people may or may not know, you end up getting your own words, your own meanings, your own intuition comes in, because tarot isn't really about learning the words of each card. It's using that as a basis for you to actually read for people. So that's how I've sort of come about with tarot. Been in it forever, but now got the accreditations. So I just feel more
there's basic meanings, like you said, of the tarot, especially the Rider-Waite kind of thing. But then I think a lot of people, like you said, also put their intuitive interpretation on it as well.
Absolutely. It's quite interesting when you have certain cards that somebody wants a work reading or career reading, and then they get like cups, which is often to do with love and relationships. But that wouldn't work with work reading. So how does that work? So it's a case of taking the suits and working out sort of against the question. So people get stuck there.
Yeah.
It's a pentacles work. Great, we've got a load of pentacles. And then all of a sudden a cup comes in. Eek. And it's the Two of Cups. Oh, that's soulmate. Oh, what do I do now? How can I be a soulmate with work? So people get stuck.
Right.
So for me, the tarot is a lot bigger than that. It's about your intuition. It's about the question. There's so many elements to it, and you never stop learning.
Yeah.
You never stop learning, but you do end up getting in your own stride, which is nice.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Because I think, when you're starting out, you are kind of looking at that more traditional, interpretation of it and stuff. But after a while, it's like, don't get all caught up in the book and stuff. Or like you said, you get stuck and pulling a card that isn't matching, what's going on. So
yeah, exactly.
Really good point.
Yeah, one of our friends that has done the Joanne is just saying she's actually writing an article about that topic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because she does a lot of writing, and it is true because I'm an astrologer. Often when I am reading tarot, I add an astrology piece to it because of the number and all of those things. So
so do I. Yeah, I love the astrology. I use numbers. Going back to, we said that the Rider-Waite was a relatively new deck, and I say new, it was 1909 that Arthur Rider-Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith actually devised the Rider-Waite deck. And I believe, I may be corrected here, but the original deck, so if we go back a little bit, I think it was 1457, 1458, a deck called the Visconti Sforza Tarot, may not have pronounced that correctly, was actually made for the Swarovski family as a Christmas present or a wedding present. So it was a gift, and it was only to the elite in Milan, in Italy. So this is people who could afford. Fast forward, we go through other tarot people like Atil. We got Thoth coming up. We got all these other people. Then Marseille came in. The Marseille deck, which is probably a little bit more common, has only got pip cards, a bit like playing cards. So for an Ace of Cups, you've got one cup. You got, the Three of Cups is 3 cups. So this is how it was devised originally. So to be honest, to me, it was more intuitive.
Yeah.
When it came to Arthur Waite and Pamela Collins Smith, I understand, or I've read, or I've heard that he wanted tarot to be available for everybody to read. So what he did is put an image or a scene on each card so that someone could pick it up and understand the tarot from that point of view, which is interesting. And that, interestingly, has become almost the standard, especially to learn from to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is the one that if you take, I was in Marilyn Aloria's group, which was called Membership for Your Soul. And she does a tarot, and they all use that card and the interpretation of that particular deck. So why tarot? Why, I know you said you liked astrology and numerology. What pulled you to be certified in tarot? Obviously you have intuitive gifts and.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I love cards. I love imagery and drawings. And I think for a lot of people, they can read into the card. And when I read tarot pre-COVID, when you can actually have people in front of you, I love saying, right, what do you see in that image? I take photos of the spreads to say, what do you see? Because they may get us, an answer that they're looking for just by looking at imagery.
Yeah.
So to me, it's more the way. With astrology is fascinating and I love it. I'm not in depth like you, Kitty. I mean, you just got years of experience. I'd love to be at that point, but to me, that's is very knowledgeable. And I think tarot is a little bit more interactive, and I'm very much a people person, although I do bring astrology into it, and I bring numbers into it, numerology. So I like to have that sort of whole package, really. But I think tarot is quite a bit more interactive for me. So that's why I suppose I chose tarot over the other two, although they are still closely behind.
No, astrology is not even in the running for me. I just go to my personal astrologer, Kitty.
Yes.
And say, okay.
or sends me a message that says, what is going on in the stars?
Yes, because it's very, I don't want to say complicated, but it's just, there's so much to it. And I just choose not to work my brain that hard to try to learn it.
Well, and I think though
there's just a lot to it, and I don't know.
And I find tarot for me. So I really think it's the tools that you're comfortable using in the structure, because I tend to use oracle decks more than tarot decks, because tarot does have a little more specific meaning. So anyway, you were telling us about your adventure, because I think it's absolutely fascinating. First of all, the Aunt Lily in the math class, I probably would have been the teacher, like, what are you doing? I'm smelling my aunt.
I'm smelling Aunt Lily.
Yeah.
Well, I did sit there and sort of like, did anybody open the door? You do this sort of look around the room, and it's like, ew, that was weird. But I was never frightened of it. And I told my mum, and she's like, yeah, she was. Mum was no longer with me, but she is. If anything glitches out, by the way, that's probably my mum playing a joke. She's good at that. Okay. You couldn't get near anything, like give her a mobile phone, and that was it. She'd screw it up.
So, I mean,
that's why you're the IT person. You had to fix all that.
There you go. Yes, exactly.
There's actually a person watching Robin, and often things glitch out. She doesn't have clocks or watches that ever work, because so your mom was kind of like that too.
Yes.
And so that must have been kind of cool, because you must have been able to have alternate conversations.
It was never something mentioned at home particularly. My dad did get my reading done, my astrology reading actually done from a colleague of his at work when I was 15. Now, back in 1984, so I'm giving my age away now, but back in 1984, 85, it still wasn't that common for astrology and things like that. In England, we had a few people on TV that would read, but for my dad to find that, it was nice to be able to have those conversations, although it was never really discussed in detail. Apart from my mum wouldn't let me go to school until I'd seen Libra on Good Morning TV. He'd do a little daily read. It's a guy called Russell Grant, very, very funny, over the top, vivacious guy. He's great. But he'd stop at Virgo and go into the commercial break. And I'm like, Mum, I've got to go to school. No, Libra's next. You can.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I love that.
That's a great story.
Oh, she was. And she'd ring me and you got your stars are good this week, Claire. Or they're not so good this week. Just be careful. Okay, Mum.
But that's a beautiful thing, because like, I'm a 70s, 80s girl myself, and there wasn't anyone to go to and ask questions or even talk about, if you didn't have anyone in your family, which I didn't. And so I'm like, okay, that was kind of, like a weird experience or something, but nobody really is around to make sense of that. So it's wonderful now that there's so much of it out there and that people can embrace it in whatever, in whatever way they do, because and that's what I love about bringing people on, because everybody has a different story and a different way of embracing their gifts. And so you can relate to a part of it, not necessarily maybe everything, but you can always relate to some part of it in your own story. And that's the beautiful thing of the internet and being able to interact with people. There's always both sides, duality, but the beautiful thing of the internet is been able to bring us all together, and with our tribe and our like-minded people.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And it was funny, only a few years ago, my dad, who again, he's in my deck. He's the emperor. That was quite a funny story, I'll tell you if you want to hear. But he said to me, I've always believed. I'm like, really, Dad? He's 84 now, so going back, he was 3 when World War II broke out. This is just like ridiculous. And he said when he lived in London, and he said that when he was being babysat, he'd go to Mrs. Biggs down the road, who was a medium. She was the local medium, so he was babysat by her, or child sat. It's like, and it's so interesting. Even going back then, people were around, but they weren't as known. And I think a lot of people get, we all heard about the Salem witch trials and all the rest of it. It feels like this is just coming back round in a circle again. Natural remedies, homeopathy, looking at things. People are going back to that nature. It's always been there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's almost like not a fashion, but it's coming back around.
I also think science is actually trying to prove some of this. They're able to measure auras. They're able to, in quantum physics, look at some of these. What does your husband always call it?
Woo-woo, is it?
Yeah, well, we call it woo-woo. He calls it voodoo. Yeah.
I told him. Yeah. Don't call it voodoo. It's woo-woo. You don't even understand.
And so science is out trying to proving some of this stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see the comments, but Felicia says that screens are freezing a bit off and on, and that could be your mom, Claire. So, so
thanks
yeah. Yes, mom, behave. Or don't, but you could show up between all of us. Yeah, you can do something that has people go, oh, that's always fun. That's always fun.
Yes, it is. I'm just going to find my dad in the deck, so bear with me if I'm playing with the cards. I'm not being rude. Exactly, and I think something that Richard Knight, as they want, my mentor, he said that he was in a lot of studies back in the 70s and 80s about how to measure brain activity. And I went to one of his seminars, and he literally got somebody to go to the back of the room with a pen and paper, draw something, and he would recreate it. And he did. And we were there, it was live, and you think, okay, how did you do that? There is something to it, but there's a lot of the studies that he was involved with were the beginnings of this scientific, bringing it a little bit closer together. So
it's like Jose Silva trying to figure out how we have alternate states and all of those things. And she's also
Casey.
Edgar Casey.
He was born in the 1800s, and you're like the late, and then died in 1930. something there, eight or something or 9.
Yeah.
But it was like, think about how long ago that was.
Yes.
And he was amazing. And I didn't even really hear about him till just a few years ago. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, how did I not know about this? So now I'm like a sponge and I'm reading all this stuff on him, and it's just amazing the things that he could do. And it's just his whole life.
Right. Nicholas Tesla. I mean, and then
so
I find
young.
out last year, 61 years old, about the Spiritualist Church. This traditional, if you're not aware of it, anyone, it's called the Spiritualist Church, and they have a regular service, and at the end of the service they all do psychic mediums and readings for each other, and they're the oldest organizations, like from the late 1800s. That's what Cassadaga, Florida is about. There's a camp up here in Maine. I'm like, how did I manage not to know about this for years and years and years? And like you said, Amy, and Alicia was saying too, I didn't have anybody. I knew things were different, but I came from a very Catholic family, and that was not what we were going to talk about. But even Catholicism has its own little secret group of people that have for years been talking about everything from exorcism to all of these different things. So, it is one of the astrologers who I have such respect for, Pam Gregory from England, talks about how she had to hide.
Yes.
She did real estate and business, and she couldn't let them know, because if that came out, people would actually not hire her anymore. And so
Well, thank goodness we're out of that age, because I love tarot cards. I love mediumship. Just all that stuff. I just eat it right up. So
and Felicia, if
you're here, so
Felicia, just Google Spiritualist Church, and you will deep dive into a hole that a lot of us had no idea was there. Anyway, so let's go on. So
woo, let's go on from the woo girls.
Yeah, so I was going to say, with my deck, which I mentioned earlier, my father-in-law, unfortunately, was diagnosed with leukemia, 2019. Yeah, and he was in South Dakota. Now I'm in Illinois, so my husband's family are up there. So we used to go up there, although we shouldn't have or whatever. We still went up there and tried to take him to appointments and things like that. So while I was up there, I was doing readings by email, because again, COVID, you couldn't see people. Well, my husband's niece, Piper, used to come up to me every day and say, "Can I have a card? What does this mean? What does that mean?" I go, "What do you think it means?" Can I do the reading? Can I do it? And I said, "Well, you can help me pull cards, And for 2 weeks, I had this, and it got from, can I have a card, to can I pull a card for my sister? Can I pull a card for mum and dad? I mean, we were going through like half the deck in the end. And she said, "Oh, can I have a deck?" I said, "Yeah, of course. If your mum's okay with that, that's fine." So I asked her mum. She said, "Yeah, absolutely." I said, "Well, I'll find you one," because she was 11. And I was looking on the internet, and there's some fabulous decks out there. But knowing her, I couldn't find one that was her. It was either like Hello Kitty. Sorry, Kitty. But Hello Kitty.
That's right.
Really sort of baby ones, like for real youngsters, or they're a little bit too adult, a bit too sick, a bit dark. So in my wisdom, and thanks Mum for leaving me a little bit of money, I said, "Should we go and create you a deck?" "Oh yeah, okay then." So that is how all these tarot decks started.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had some rules, and the rules were that she wanted to be in the deck, and other people had to be in the deck for family and some friends. And my rules were it had to be diverse, it had to be more modern. And after a while, an 11-year-old was like, "Yeah, we'll get involved." And every sort of Sunday we had a Zoom or a meeting. It was really funny having a Zoom meeting with an 11-year-old, showing us some ideas. And then of course she decided to disappear, so I continued with it, and took about a year to get the designs together. I had them all up here, but I can't draw at all. I can't draw a straight line with the ruler, so I had to get a designer in and take the images from my head and put them onto card. And then literally a year ago, I was talking to my fellow members in Tarot Academies I was in, and they said, "Oh, can I have a copy of the deck? Can I have a copy of the deck? Shall I put it on Kickstarter? Like, why not? There's no harm. There's nothing. We'll just have a go." And then it funded.
Wow.
Like, oh, what? So that's how Art Lily's Tarot deck was born. We had to have 2 sizes.
Yeah.
Ones which I use the little ones more often because
Easier to shuffle.
Hang on a minute, the camera's all over the place. There's the strength card.
Oh, I love that. That is so cool.
That was, I thought, my controversial card. I thought I was going to get moaned at. Sorry, do you want to see that again? I thought I was going to get moaned at about that one. But I've been through breast cancer. My mother-in-law's been through breast cancer. My father-in-law died of leukemia. He did die in the end in 21. And I think every time I see a St. Jude advert on TV, I think of the child smiling.
Well, I didn't recognize that at first, but now I can because you pointed it out. But because it's harder to see on camera.
Yes,
that's a beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful though.
And
they are beautiful.
Thank you. I wanted something because kids, they all need to join in, and then they're not left out. It's not just kids; it could be anybody.
Oh, for sure.
Picking a couple of others just while I've got them. There's the Knight of Wands. He was based on one of my doctors in England who was a Sikh. When he stood up,
that's cool.
Tall, he was enormous. He was really tall, and I just loved him for the Knight of Wands, just to be a little bit different on a motorbike. Well, better say hello to Dad, hadn't I? Now I've mentioned him. There's my dad. He doesn't have a beard, but if you saw him with that picture, you'd say, "Oh wow, it's a likeness."
Oh.
And I see. He said,
I just love that. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. He said, "Can I be in the deck?" I said, "Well, I could be the Emperor." "Oh, I like that," he said. I said, "Yeah, he's not an Aries, but he's a triple Leo, so that really did work for him."
Triple Leo, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a little about astrology, but wow, triple Leo.
He's got his sun, moon, and rising in Leo, and it does come through.
Yeah.
It
How could it not?
One I wanted was somebody in a wheelchair. My mum had LBD, which is Lewy body dementia, and she passed from it. It's that and Parkinson's. They sort of go hand in hand. But in the end, she was in a wheelchair. I knew she wouldn't want to be in the deck, but I put her in sort of.
Yeah.
So she's the Queen of Cups.
I love that. I love that diversity. You said that.
Are you in there?
No. I am, but I'm not. Funnily enough, you sort of read it. I never had children. I have 2 stepdaughters. I'm very lucky. But not all people have kids. And a lot of the Empress imagery is a pregnant woman, which is great. Not a problem with that. But I wanted to be different because that's me. I think Kitty now knows that as well. My dogs, Arius and Jackson, who I still have, had puppies 3 years ago, and she had 11. Oh, yeah, she could not feed them all at once, so we ended up bottle feeding some. So that was, and I loved it. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever gone through, and they were fab. I'm still in touch with a lot of the owners of the dogs as well. Yeah, so that's one reason I did the Empress like that. So this is why, my history, some ideas have come through it. I did put astrology in here, Kitty. I don't know if you've noticed this in the star. On the bridge are all the astrology signs.
Oh, actually, I did. I remember that going, oh, wait a minute. That's, oh, yes, I did. And I remember saying, and you knew you had said something to me about it. And so I'm looking for it, and it's going to bite me. It's right here.
Yes.
Like I told you, my very favorite, I have a favorite card, almost every deck. I have a favorite card, and mine is definitely the Fool.
Fool, yeah.
Something about that little girl dancing is me. And the fact that there's a dog sitting there behind them is just,
Yeah.
Well, and I also know that you do in your explanation card. I can't get the.
Oh, yeah.
That's very based in astrology. The seasons and all of that. So the swords, the pentacles, and so.
And again, I put those in because it's a starting point. But if you don't agree that the cups is the summer and it's the spring, then go with what you resonates with you.
Mhm.
As long as you don't chop and change, you feel it. So I was reading the other day, I feel that wands are quicker than swords, because magic is like that. You can't see it, right? That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And the sword is still quick, but it's going through the air. And I read somewhere the other day that somebody thought that the sword was the quickest because it cuts through, and the wand was a slower motion. So they had it the other way around. That's okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't matter.
But for a lot of people, they like that little bit of starting point, if they're just starting out. And then, like you said, then it evolves to what they start to perceive it as. But it's nice to have, when you're first starting out, a little bit of guidance, to it and stuff.
Absolutely. I'm just going to do a couple more cards just for other people to see the tower. Now, a lot of people, and I don't like the tower in the Rider deck because it just reminds me of 9/11, and I think we all remember that horrible day. I was in England then, but again, going for children and stuff, I did a sandcastle being taken by a wave. So to me, the tower, and I like the tower actually because it does mean rebuild.
Yes.
Stronger.
Well, that might be all your Scorpio stuff. So.
Oh yes, Scorpio. Yeah, Kitty was telling me all about me, and she's right. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. And then the other one I did was instead of the devil, which can be even
Scary.
the word.
Yeah.
A lot of people are quite scared of. I called it the fallen angel.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and kept in Rider-Waite deck, which this is really based off the lovers, which are the two characters here, were under the devil's spell. So that's how I included those.
Oh.
So yeah, no, it as I say, there was no rush to create it. It was great fun, and
well, no, obviously there's a lot of thought put in it. I mean, you were very, you wanted it just so, and it looks like you had great visions of what you wanted each card, and it came out beautifully. So
well, and Amy and I are both
a deck
for former elementary teachers. And so it's lovely because it is hard to talk about the sexual piece and all of those things when you're talking to children. It's not appropriate, and so it's lovely to have something that is more of the purest form of that. So that's really very, very nice, very inspired. And the fact that it's all your family. So now I'm going to be sending you pictures. Who's this? Who's this?
all families. They're not all.
This is the neighbor Bill, and this
yeah.
Joe.
I want to be in a. I want to be in a deck. I want to be in a deck.
You can be. You can be if you want to know. Tell you what, there's something I can help you out with that. So if anybody does want to be in a deck, let me know, because the designer I used can do that. So reach out to me. And if you want to create your own deck, I'll come on to that in a second. I don't know how much time we've got, but there's something else I'm doing at the moment, which is really exciting about decks. And I don't think I even mentioned it to you, Kitty. We ran out of time. Do you want me to talk about that quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Everybody's heard of Audible, I guess. Yeah, when you download books and things and podcasts. Well, there is a new app coming out. It's nothing from me. It's a company called Decable. So DECKIBLE. And what he's doing, you can look him up, Decable.com. What he's doing is he's putting he's saying, like, I can't carry 20 decks around with me because it's ridiculous. So he's putting decks on an app where people can go in and pull cards, right? It's not out yet, so I hope I haven't screwed it up for him, but he's online, so I think I'm okay. Aunt Lily's Tarot deck is on there. Yeah, and because of that, I'm actually making cards for other people. So I'm actually doing decks for other people at the moment. I'm doing an oracle deck, and there's a spiritual medium in England who's reached out, so I'm going to do a deck for him.
Oh, Joanne says her deck's going to be on that.
Yes.
Cool.
Excellent. Excellent. It's a great idea. And it doesn't have to be tarot, oracle. It's mindset. There's exercise. There's all sorts on there. And I believe it's launching next month. But that's something which is really exciting. So if anybody wants to create their own deck, you don't even have to have it published. You could go onto this instead,
Wow.
or have both. So
Really
if anybody's interested, email me and I'll help them out.
okay, that is amazing, and that's
Her
really
email
awesome.
is across the bottom. Her
Deckable.
email is
Oh,
is
the email.
Oh, my
her-
email's across the bottom. Yes,
yes.
Claire at claire-lily.com.
Yeah.
I know that Amanda Ellis, I follow her, and she has her own deck,
Mhm.
and she did something similar to that, but she gave you a link and it shuffles them, and you just click on one, and then it has the whole reading and stuff with it. So and I love that, because it's kind of like you said, like on the go thing. I'll be somewhere and I'm like, I just need to pull a card, or I need to do something like that. So, but to have that variety of all of those and on an app, how cool is that?
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can journal on it as well. I don't know the full ins and outs because I was so busy trying to upload everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can journal it. It's a very interesting concept, and it's sort of following the Audible app that came out before. So the guy's actually from England. It's so weird how these things happen. The guy who has invented it, if you like, is from England, and he lives in Canada. So yeah, it's just something that's come up recently for me. So I thought I'd just mention it.
I think it's great, and it's funny that Joanne's on it too.
Brilliant.
I use her deck a lot, so that, and for some of us, especially when people are starting and they wonder if they're quote unquote stacking the deck or not trusting, actually having something electronic means you absolutely put nothing in this. You just shuffled and it came up. So that, plus if I'm somewhere, like you said, as a matter of fact, I spilt water in my purse today, and the deck I have in my purse is on the dashboard drying. So those are pretty, I love that.
Well, and if they're available in print, some of them, maybe that has that option. Yes. Sometimes, it's hard to go get a new deck unless you see someone, like kind of display it or recommend it or something. And I've bought a few decks that I'm just like, maybe they're not my favorite kind of thing. And maybe I'll pass them on to someone else. But this way you could, even if you tried it out and then went, ooh, like print on demand or whatever, send me that deck. I want to have it in my hand as well.
Yeah, especially if he puts links with it so that you can order because you like it. So
but they've got all that set. They're setting all that up now. But absolutely,
yes,
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Speaking of projects, you've got a couple coming. So tell us about them. Yeah,
the one you want me to talk about.
I have one in particular. I wanted, but it's got two. So
yes. The main project I've been working on, I've been working on it for a little while now, is a journal. Now, lots and lots of tarot journals are out there, and they're fantastic for pulling like card a day or pulling 3 cards and writing about them, which is really important to do. And that also helps build your intuition and helps sort of, learn about the cards. But something I found, and I won't show you now because I'll probably end up being covered in paper, but I have got books and notebooks and bits of paper of lots of tarot meanings. I've got them everywhere. Mm-hmm. I can just think of something, write that down, a bit of paper, chuck it on my desk, and then it goes in a box along with all the rest of it. And I've been looking to put all my notes into a central place, so I bought some notebooks. And I wrote a whole page on the Fool, and then I went on through, and then I found something else for the Fool, and I turned to the page. Oh, there's no more room left. Start a new notebook. And it's like getting really silly. So I thought, what do I need? What do I need to be able to really take all my words, ideas, inspirations, insights? And I've created what I needed, which I think will help others, which is going to be a journal style workbook. It's hard to explain what it is, but it's basically pages which are organized for people to use. So let me give you an example. We'll take the Fool, we'll have different places for things to put. So if you're an astrologer like Kitty, She'll put things about astrology. If somebody loves Kabbalah, they'll have a little place to put stuff for Kabbalah. If someone's into numbers, so it's only your own little area to put what you think the card means, you feel the card means. So there's 2 pages to the main part. There's that, and then there's like what I call a mind map. You do it in marketing. You have a figure, and then you start drawing these little things. So what does the 4 mean? Oh, it could be a new journey. What's a new journey? It could be a travel. It could be exploring a new country. It could be a new job. Oh, what does that mean? And all of a sudden you get all these different words and ideas that will come to you over time that you can then put onto your main page and say, these are my interpretations. Something else I've put in the book is, I was the fool when. So when was I that fool? So my personal fool was when I was 40 years old. I left England, sold everything, and went to Germany with my then to meet up and stay with my then boyfriend of 6 months and his 2 daughters. Well, most people told me I was an idiot. Do you know what you're doing? You don't know. You've never been a mom, blah, blah, blah. Well, we've been married 10 years now. So that to me was a real full moment of absolutely starting from nothing. Knew a bit of German, but never lived there, never lived abroad. And then, the rest is history. But that was a full moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to have their own full moments. So it's really just giving ideas and thoughts of how else you can see things. Another thing I like to do, and I don't know if you've ever done this. Have you ever watched a TV show and you've got an episode, you don't know what's going to happen? Have you ever pulled cards to find out what you think might happen?
No, but that's interesting.
No, but I've tried to I think I know. You feel into it, but
I
yeah,
mean, but I've never thought about, I know I've used cards for my own dilemmas, but outside of that, so that's pretty
But it's
fun.
interesting because, again, even if you don't get it right, if you like, you could look at the cards and go, oh, that's what that meant. Okay, there's a change of, what does 5 mean? So again, what it does, it just gets your mind thinking.
Yeah.
So this, so the journal, which it's 333 pages, it had to be 333, got a lot of pages and lots of space to write and to draw and to make spreads and to, make your own and copy others. It's really going to be your own book. Yeah. So everybody could have one, but everybody's internal pages will be them. Mm-hmm. So fingers crossed that's going to be coming out very soon. It's going to go straight into Amazon because then people can buy it directly. Mm-hmm. As per the country they're living in. So
yeah,
well,
I love that idea. I think that's amazing.
It will definitely be posting the link as soon as you give us the okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But I've just got my design for the cover. It's all getting put together right now. So everything's there. It's just got to be pasted together and then uploaded and approved. Yeah. So you're the first you're the first people to know that it's actually coming out. And it's going to be, I'll tell you the name.
We have the exclusive
Tarot and Me. That's all it's called.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, that's what it's called?
Yeah.
Tarot and Me. Yeah.
Tarot and Me.
Love it. I love it. It just sounds great. And I'm okay. Like when you're talking, I'm looking around at this stuff and going, oh my gosh, I so know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have problems with it.
And remember, Harry Potter started that way on little bits of paper shoved in checkbooks and all that stuff. So that's how greatness starts. We're going to be going to questions but why don't you tell us about your second, your class?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Linking on to Tarot and Me, what I want to do is actually do a beginner's class, but not so much that it's a Rider-Waite beginners. I want to do it so that it doesn't matter what deck you use. So it could be Shadowscapes, it could be Aunt Lily's, it could be the Rider-Waite, it could be any deck out there, Marseille. I want to sort of bring it right back down to basics and have like a course which links to Tarot and Me, so we can go through how to write in the book. Although it's quite straightforward, it'll be nice to do a little bit together and have the basics. And then I'm going to be opening up a group, YouTube or Facebook, not sure which one yet, so that once the course has been gone through, just to get the real basics, I want to set up a group where people can practice, because that's the hard thing.
Yeah.
You can learn and learn and learn as much as you like, but until you put it into practice, it doesn't help, it doesn't flow. And that's how you can, really learn to use your intuition. And it's all going to be in a very safe place, where everybody's learning together. So that's the next stage for me and Tarot and me.
Well, promise us you'll send us the links so that we can let people know. That's what we do here at IOTS. It's to, I've got people here saying, yes, I'll sign up. And the journal I found fascinating, because I have some similar idea for astrology, because for you to be able to really reflect upon it, you need something that's about you that you can come in and out of and go and visit and do all those kinds of things. So,
I mean, even talking to my mentor, Richard Knight's been reading for over 40 years. Yeah, about 40 years. And even he said in a one of our online things the other day that he's changed his keywords for some of the majors, even recently. He's changed it because society changes, we change. And, looking back at the original tarot, they didn't have technology, for example. They didn't have computers. So where do computers fit now? Well, to me, it's communication. So it's the sword suit. So tarot, although it's, was invented centuries ago, it's still current. And you still put it to all current things.
Yeah. Well, and to me, a lot of the energetic and things that are happening are the wands. They're magic. So yeah, I so understand that. All right. So this is the time, because we want to get it in. We prefer to get it in. There we go. I'm trying to change my words from want to prefer. If people have any questions, please write the questions down. Because this is a chance to ask or any other clarification, because it's obvious the three of us could just chat.
Yeah.
So, and
of the gab.
So and you do help people create decks, so people can reach out if they're interested in creating a deck. And
I would love to do that. I'm like you though, Claire. I could not draw, to save my life. I can't. Yeah, I just can't do that.
No, and you don't need to, and that's why I like using other people and get there. I was so lucky with Aunt Lily. The Chariot was the card. I actually asked 3 designers.
I looked at that card with the 2 dogs. Yeah.
I asked 3 designers to draw me a girl on a skateboard with 2 dogs pulling either way, because I have dogs. My stepdaughter at the time was on a skateboard. I thought, that's great. So I had 3 different designs, and the one that won, she obviously did the whole deck, and I never changed one iota of her original design. And I knew then that was the person to go to for that deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she was great.
I'm sitting here thinking, this is the first time I've ever said this out loud. I would love to do an astrology deck that's usable. That links, for that kind of thing. Because numbers and all that. Oh, yes, I loved that card.
Oh, I love that card. Thank you.
What was interesting is she put like a railroad crossing behind it. And the Chariot to me comes after the Lovers, which is often a big decision. So once you've made that decision, you move forward. So for her to have the barriers down, it was like no turning back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Forward. And she did that. So to do, I am crap. My drawings were literally stick men.
Oh yeah.
It was, and even those were like, is that really a stick man?
Yeah. No, oh no. I could tell you really funny stories, but we don't have time, and maybe isn't the appropriate place, but about some drawings I've done that were misinterpreted. That's not what I drew.
I freehand, I have no concept of it. I can actually look at a drawing and reproduce it, like so that you could tell what it is, like
Yeah.
characters and those kinds of things. I did that for school. But as for coming up with my own character, no.
No.
Oh,
I actually want to do one with my dog because he's so photogenic and has such a big personality. And so it's funny, I'll take a picture and I'll go, oh, you know, there's one where we were out in the snow. I live in Michigan, and he went this way. So he had tracks going this way, and then he had tracks going this way. And it looked like a big X with his little footy print tracks. And the tree was in the background. I thought, oh, what a great crossroads kind of card that would be. So he just does funny things. And well, he's like a little man. So I'm always thinking, oh, that, like if I take a picture, then something will hit me like, oh my gosh, look at that could be this card. So he's
Well,
very
you could do
photogenic.
that. You could do that. You can use photos in cards.
Yeah.
That's one to go through. Have a think on that. Anybody wants any help, just shout.
Yeah.
So that's fun. So any questions out there for Claire?
I think there's a lot of comments that they're really, you know,
they're enjoying this very
idea
much.
of
Yeah.
Oh,
journal and that type of thing. Oh, here's a question.
I wondered about linking of everything together between astrology, tarot, and everything. I have tarot, several decks, and they are few. I use more than others, passed on. I also have crystal decks and different types. How do we know which ones are best ones?
The best decks are the ones that you resonate with. It really is. I've got decks, same as what, you know, like Amy said, I've got decks that I love the imagery, but I wouldn't read with them for a client, for example, because I do read for clients, but I might read for myself. Aunt Lily's taken my life recently, you know, over the last year, but I still have a lot of decks that I love, and I have bought decks which I'm like, eh. But one of the things I found was there was a guy in New Mexico. This is a little story. I find these random people, and
So do I. So
yep. And he was looking for decks, and it was on a Facebook, and I thought, okay, well, I've got some which I don't use, and I'd rather somebody use them, you know, just sitting there. And I reached out and asked why he wanted the decks, and he said that he had a tarot after school club.
oh,
Fantastic.
Nice.
So he had a few of my decks, and I sent him a couple of Aunt Lee's as well. And where he was in, I think it's New Mexico. I think he's in New Mexico. It was a very sort of a poor area. And for them to be able to learn spiritual, because he was a Buddhist and he was all very much spiritual in his tarot and astrology and everything else, it gave people, his students, somewhere to really be open and authentic. And he said, he rang me, he said, one girl just picked up your deck and took him home, and that was it. She just wanted something. And he was,
what a lovely
it was
story.
fantastic. So if they're still looking, I'll let you know if he's still looking for decks for his students.
Yeah.
So if anybody does have decks that they don't use, to go to like the kids that just, instead of getting into drugs and things like that, if they could get into spirit and try and help themselves and help each other.
Oh yeah, beautiful. I love that.
And I so agree with your, you know, whatever resonates with you. And my wheels are turning. I just actually heard a different idea, and we'll be talking afterwards. But like I like decks that inspire me to do something. Like recently, one that I found actually gives you ceremonies when you pull a card that you can do. And so, and it's an oracle deck, so the words are very different. But to have me not only think, but here, go do this, go sit under a tree and say to yourself, blah, blah. And I'm like, action for me. So I think that's so true, because Amy and I both have had decks that we both go, you know,
and it could be,
and other people love them. So
exactly, it can be very simple as the cardstock. It's too thick, it's too thin.
It's hard to shuffle.
It's hard to shuffle. I mean, Aunt Lily's aren't the easiest to shuffle as they get out of the pack. But they're sturdy in the end. I mean, I've been just not bending
and
around.
Sometimes the imagery, you know, you'll find, because you only see a few of them when you're actually looking at, you know, at a deck. Like if you're going to purchase one, they don't You don't get to whole, and they're going to show you the best ones, obviously. And you get in there and you're like, wow, there was only 3 that I really liked, and the rest of them I don't, you know, or just,
So that
don't
deckable's
resonate with me, and you know, and that kind of thing. I'm really into. I like the tarot. I like the different types of tarot and the oracle cards, but I'm really into the illustrations. For me, that's what more than so what the message or what they're saying is. I have to tune in, or I like to focus in on the illustrations. So that's what draws me to a deck.
Right. And some people, and this is one reason I want to do this course, so that you don't have to have a specific deck. Right. You can read the Marseille. You could read playing cards if you wanted to. You could just read any that you like. I want to get it so that you can read any deck that's picked up. And you can pick up any one and go, I love the imagery, or I don't need to know what it means, because I know the keywords and the basics for me to be able to do an accurate reading. Right. So I want to take that out. So so whichever deck you love, and sometimes you love a gentle deck that day. Sometimes you want a hard hitting deck that day. Perhaps you're in a funny mood. I've got one which is, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's about hillbilly deck. I've got the villains from Disney. I've got
hillbilly deck,
and absolutely, and the Halloween one I pull out. Yeah. So sometimes you're in a silly mood, and sometimes you want to look at and sometimes looking at different images give you different ideas. So don't be too constrictive, and don't worry about having the right deck, because you know which one it is.
Right. You'll know just intuitively if you like it or resonate with it.
Yes.
Oh, and Marcia writes that she's an illustrator girl too. Well, Marcia, that's a hidden talent we didn't know about.
Excellent.
Says I'm an illustrator girl too. Yeah. As you have 3 stick drawing people sitting here going, oh, really? You know.
When I'm doing my readings, I'll scribble and I'll be like, oh, that looks like something. But if I were to show it to you and say, this to me looks like, a bird or something, you'd be like, no, I can't see any of that. But it's just what comes to me, but it makes no sense to anyone else. So that's how my drawing is.
I hate to say, our hour is up. It's gone amazingly fast. We have people that say, Sean says, I feel Claire is talking to me. Love all of this. Felicia's been very happy. I think you'll have some people reach out. And of course, as people watch the replay, I can tell you that, and I can already tell Amy's got a couple things going, in her head.
Smoke.
Do you see the smoke?
Yeah, the smoke. She's got her own Disney-esque thing going on here, or Looney Tunes, depending. Yeah. But we want to thank everybody, especially Claire. Thank you so much for coming on. And please make sure we'll let it go for just a minute. This July is a special on Lily's Tarot.
Yes.
To celebrate the anniversary. There's also her regular website. I do know if you just Google at Lily's Tarot, you'll get to her website. And reach out. She'll let us know when these classes start and when the journal is completely published, and we will definitely be and let us know too. We'd love
to have Claire come back on or something and preview the journal.
I'd love to. I would love to.
And we'd love to have you come and have people sign up through us for your class so you can promote it on. We happy to do that. Our platform is pretty much open to help all people exploring as well as ourselves. So,
thank you. And if anybody has any questions or anything I can help with, I am very open, and just send me an email. I'd love to connect.
All right. So awesome.
All right. So
and I got to tell Sean, I have not forgotten. So there. That's just a personal message to Sean. I have not forgotten.
Secret messages.
Well, actually, Amy, hold your sage up. Hold that sage up.
Honker.
The honker sage. Look at the size of this.
It's a story though, real quick. I went in to buy sage, and I I like certain smells and some that I don't. And if it doesn't smell good, I don't want it anywhere near me. I'm just very sensitive to smells. And so I wanted something with lavender in it because I absolutely love lavender. And so the only lavender and white sage was this honker. So I bought the honker, and you'd think because it's so darn big that, you know, it'd catch a flame and stuff, but I can't get this thing hardly to burn. So I'm always playing with the honker here, like, okay, got my honker going, trying to
Oh, that's fabulous.
So on
Anyway.
that lovely note, we want to say thank you all.
Thank you.
Aloha, aloha oi.
Aloha.
And
Well, I gotta end it.
yes, and so we will see you later. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.